2 months before her wedding, Dr. Phoebe Rogers was secretly having panic attacks every time she pictured herself saying, "I do." She would literally visualize herself running away at the altar. She almost went through with it anyway. Because sometimes the voice that says, "at least someone loves you," is louder than the voice that is screaming, "this is wrong," until it wasn't. Dr. Phoebe Rogers is a clinical psychologist and couples therapist who has transformed thousands of relationships through her practice, courses, and her new book, When Will It Happen for Me? She is Sydney's go-to expert in attachment theory, schema therapy, and helping people break destructive dating habits, wisdom that Phoebe gained the hard way through her own journey from relationship expert to runaway bride to finally finding the love roadmap that she now teaches to women worldwide. This is a conversation that I am really looking forward to because understanding what patterns drive how you show up in relationships, whether they are romantic relationships or platonic relationships, are one of the greatest keys to understanding who you are and how you operate and how to live a more fulfilling and free life. Let's get to the podcast. Hi, I'm Danielle, and I'm so glad that you're here because together we're going to work through big stuff. Welcome, Phoebe. Welcome to Big Stuff. It is so great to have you here.
I'm excited to chat, Danielle.
Excellent. Well, your book, I have no doubt, is going to help a lot of people. I think that this question that we have around love, finding the one, how do I do it? What's wrong with me? I think it's such a universal thing. And I love like some of the ongoing themes and messages that you have throughout your book. I think they're going to, like, you're just going to help so many people. And I think it's it's wonderful. You're doing such great work. I'm excited to have a relationship therapist on. Take us back to what was happening for you as you were about to get married. You were a couple of months away from your own wedding, your own happily ever after. It was a fairy tale romance. Give us a little bit of a rundown of how that romance started and what happened.
How it started is we met on a dating app. It was COVID. I think I was feeling quite alone and disconnected. My breakup before that was quite painful. It was the first one in which I was left. Anyway, so I thought, I'm ready. It's COVID. How do you meet people? Get on a dating app. He was very clear with his interest and, very warm and brought a gift on the first date. And the part of me that wanted to be in love and find my person got really swept up in a lot of those things. And then slowly the cracks began to show, as they often do. And we were moving forward and I didn't have to wait exactly. Dates were planned and I was being introduced to a wider circle and it felt really lovely. So we had the beautiful engagement. I was proposed to within 2 months and then we were living together and planning a future because I was 35, 36. I thought I had enough wisdom and experience and I think I just wanted to believe it, as we all do. So yes, I remember, trying on the wedding dress and actually telling that story and saying, yes, when you know, you know. But then there were little things and I think of, a comment my friend made about some of his behaviors and that stuck with me, but I continued because, you're moving forward, you're living together, you're planning, I was buying my wedding dress and all those incredible things. But then, part of me had big worries and concerns. I mean, once you start living with someone, I think you really begin to see it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And you mentioned in the book that those worries and concerns were coming up as like sort of feelings in your body. What were these? How were these flags? How were you experiencing them in your body?
I was like that heaviness in the pit of your stomach, that kind of dread. And I just kept thinking how women, I would think, would feel about their wedding day to their person. It's like, oh, I'm not feeling that. I'm actually really worried and feeling heavy and tired and drained and concerned. And so, yeah, the happy, bubbly energy really went pretty quickly. And then I remember having conversations with family, but wanting to push forward. But they were worried. You just, that, you're going back and forth and back and forth. And so I was really confused as well.
And it's quite torturous, I think, that space. We really get into our own heads as well. It's like, should I, shouldn't I? Is this the right thing? Is this not the right thing? And so how close to the wedding were you when you pulled the pin?
So we were due to be married in the October. I pulled it in August, I remember, because it was pretty close to my 36th birthday. So it was over by then. Yeah. And then it was a little bit blurry, Guess we had to separate, the things, and we'd been living together. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were already a clinical psychologist and a couples therapist at this time.
Yeah, for years. Yes, for years. And the couples therapist was kind of maybe 3 years before, something like that, 3-4 years. But yeah, clinical psychologist for a long time before that point. Yeah.
So as you are getting up there in age, and if anyone is listening and you're not watching the video, I did air quotes because there is often this fear in women that we're going to be left on the shelf if we're leaving it too long. Did you have this feeling that not only were you, heading into your sort of mid to late 30s, but also like love is your profession?
Yes, all of that. Like I would really be in the relationship and at home and in that experience. And then, yes, certainly thinking, and it would hit because my clients saw the ring on my finger and were happy for me. And then I would have to go in and talk about love and feel really upset. And I don't think I could access those feelings actually until a lot later in the healing journey. I think I was really blocked from the shame, actually, the shame of I should know better and I made a poor choice and it's my fault, and actually I don't think I deserve love. All of that I was able, I think, to admit to myself a lot later.
What did you feel then? Did you just feel relief?
Yes, 100%. Like that was the first feeling because I can't do the conflict anymore and I can't live in this limbo. So I remember the peace and the quiet. I think I do talk about that in the book. And like emotion dysregulation and two really sensitive people, I get that. And so, yeah, the conflict, then you become more dysregulated and it becomes worse. Yeah.
It becomes a cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get to the point of recognizing that maybe the thing, like the things that were coming up for you were patterns that you were seeing, you were making choices or you had made choices similar to this before?
I mean, I'd done therapy years before and I understood I probably tended towards the emotionally unavailable type, like very intense and quick in the beginning. But I told myself a different story about this one, that actually when you know, and whatever, and I'm old enough, wise enough. And I was in therapy, but then I sought out someone who really has a special interest in relationships. And I found a fellow psychologist, schema therapist, who really helped me go, these are your childhood wounds and this is how it's playing out. It's how it's played out in the past. It's how it's played out just recently. And this is how you keep yourself stuck in those cycles of abandonment.
Mhm.
It's who you choose, but it's how you show up. It's what you're not saying. It's the feelings that you're keeping in. It's not wanting to be difficult. And so actually I never tested the kind of health and stability of the relationship, because I think a lot of the time I'd try and have a voice, just kept quiet. And so you could never really see deeply that we're not close actually. It's just, you just keep it going, but it doesn't have a depth.
Yeah. When you talk about that depth and how to create that depth in a relationship, you mentioned, you would try to just keep it going, almost like not rock the boat. So it's almost like you take what you're given, you
Correct.
are grateful. I think at one point you even said, at least someone loves me. Like I should stay in this relationship because somebody loves me.
Yeah, and he's showing it, right? And no one's perfect.
Yeah. How do you go from feeling almost too scared to show your true self in case then you get rejected to being able to show up fully and authentically in a relationship?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was really, really hard. I think you own, well, keeping quiet and keeping small and being agreeable, that didn't work, actually. I need someone who's secure enough in themselves to say, I have a different opinion, but I respect yours. What really helped was speaking to little Phoebe. Actually, that even if you're anxious, that your feelings matter, and finding a person who considers your feelings matters. I was speaking to the little girl within, that I wanted her to have that experience, that she needed to have it to heal, like adult me needed to have it. But I just knew I had to do the opposite if I was going to get the outcome that I wanted, which was a healthy reciprocal relationship. And I think there's something about, you leave the rock bottom moment and you're terrified of being on your own, but that's the better choice. And so I think I was quite prepared to let go if it wasn't good for me and it wasn't right. So that gives you a bit of power to actually just speak up from the beginning and say how you feel and what you need from a relationship.
So many people are terrified of being on their own. So much so that they will accept.
Exactly.
They will settle for why do you think that is? Why are people so scared to be on their own?
It's good. I'm thinking there's a relationship therapist, Sue Johnson, and she talks about primal panic, actually. Like it's really a survival need to be connected and be in group most of the time. That's how we get through life.
Sure.
And so it's so raw and distressing to not be. And then the other part of it is most of the time, well, I think a majority of us, we don't get the skills to actually soothe ourselves when we're on our own. We're still there waiting for someone to come along to rescue us, to validate our emotions, to remind us that we're worthy. And so we don't know what to do with our pain when we're on our own. I think that's the scary part, is like, how do I have my pain on my own? That's the fear. And so schema therapy, I write about it in the book, will give you the tools to be okay on your own and to kind of give yourself the template of the healthy relationship that you need, and building that self-connection so you're ready to identify the right person. But if you don't find them, you're okay.
And I think that is the heart of it, is being able to feel okay on your own. You mentioned a moment ago, you spent time with little Phoebe. To some people, the idea of like communicating with your younger self or revisiting the hurt, wounded child might seem like a little bit woo or a little bit weird. Can you explain a process or how you go about getting in touch with that person? And something else, I'm about to like throw in another question on a question. Often and this is something that I know I do, is I have minimized little Danielle's experience.
Yes.
Because you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. It only happened once, or, people had it worse, like all of that sort of stuff. So what is, I guess, the first step in recognizing that your inner child needs a little bit of reparenting or needs some love? And then how do you do it?
It's good. They're really good questions. I'll try and answer it all. So I think the first bit is, if we're having relationship dynamics that are unhealthy, usually some core emotional needs were unmet, right? We don't have the resources to take care of ourselves. That wasn't modeled to us in a healthy way. So then you have to go back and go, precisely what were the emotional needs that weren't met, usually by my parent, and now I'm an adult, how do I give those back to myself? But people do find it weird and woo-woo as a concept. And so if I take you back to memories or defining core moments, and I'll guide people to get there, okay, this trigger that you're having in the moment, where is that emotion sitting in your body? And what does that remind you of from your past? And you don't have to picture it. It can just be the feeling, actually. I'm not a visual person, but see what comes to mind about how old you were. And then it's as if we're standing and we're watching, or we're standing back and we're tuning into that feeling in the body, and we want to offer it some comfort and some care. And so the core unmet needs are things like, feeling like someone's proud of you, feeling that someone actually cares about your emotions, that you're safe and secure and protected, and you're not on your own. So I would guide people to send back those messages to their younger selves, and actually they're pretty good at it. Where people struggle is often they have the protective part of them, or the minimizing part that goes, it's not that bad.
Yeah, but my
They
protector
go
is really
logical.
strong. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so then I just spend some time with the part of them that doesn't believe that to be true, and how is that getting them through life right now, and maybe that's okay. But most of the people who come to do this work, they'll be able to visualize, and like in one session they go, oh, I get it, and then they take that away, and then they're triggered at another point, and they know exactly how to soothe and comfort themselves.
I learned a lot about my protector part through my own therapy journey, and I had a sexual abuse experience when I was a child, and it only happened once, and it wasn't that bad. That's what I used to say to myself. It only happened once, and it wasn't that bad. And so in therapy, when we were looking at EMDR, and we were putting together the timeline of horror, whatever, what you sort of look at all of the different experiences throughout your childhood. It is. It's super interesting. I have in my own work done inner child work, and seeing, even a grown man go and hug that little boy in his imagination, and the feelings that come from that. It's such a beautiful, beautiful practice and process. So if anyone is curious about that, I thoroughly recommend that people explore it. Do you think that, I know that there is some research, what are your thoughts on this, about the relationships that we choose are often trying to emulate and heal the most fractured parental relationship?
Yes, we do.
What a flaw!
I know, it's like such a cliche, isn't it? As well,
really is.
like, but yes, we do. I love how Freud. I haven't read much of Freud, but it's repetition compulsion. We are compelled to repeat that pattern in order to try and heal it, actually, and to finally get that person to show us that we are lovable. And so we'll bend ourselves and twist in order to get that met. But often the very person you're choosing can't they don't have the capacity themselves.
Because often you choose someone who has similar attributes and traits to the person in the
Exactly.
first place who
Exactly.
was incapable. Yeah. Oh, the human mind, how interesting we are. So you know, and you knew all along so much about attachment and schemas and therapy and all of the knowledge. Very smart. You have to be. How do you get from being book smart to actually being able to apply it to yourself? Because I think it's one thing to know stuff, but then to be able to actually embody it, I suppose, to do the work.
Exactly. It's not enough to know. I often say to people, you have to feel it in your body. You have to be moved by your own experiences. And so that's why the inner child stuff is so powerful, because it creates a new emotion that helps you to heal. Also, what I did was definitely, like, I was in a therapy group at the time. So talking through my patterns with other female therapists, that was incredibly helpful.
You were in a therapy group as a practitioner to practitioner or as a group of patients with a hat?
No, we were all therapists, kind of like group supervision, working on our stuff and bringing
Great.
our
Yeah.
clients. So all of it.
Yep.
And I think that was incredible for me in terms of, I mean, the support and not feeling ashamed, but women in the caring profession, we self-sacrifice and all of those things. So I would write my patterns down. I would write down the dialogue, the wounded part of little Phoebe and what she needed to hear, and to think about what corrective experiences would be. But I really did my homework. So I did things like post-it notes on my mirror when I looked at myself about how am I feeling inside, because I think so much of what had happened was I was choosing partners based on how, they treated me in that excitement, but actually what's going on for me inside, I was so disconnected to actually these core emotional needs being met. So I needed lots of reminders. And that's how I came to develop this dating journaling process for my clients. Is actually, when you go on a date, how do you feel? Like, what are the date's, the person's values? What do you actually have in common? Do you feel calm and at ease in their presence rather than nervous and dysregulated? I think most of us, well, the people I work with and myself, don't know how healthy relationship actually feels. We've been told it's chemistry.
Yeah, butterflies and
Yeah.
nerves and like chaos and not knowing if they like you and all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So writing it down and checking in with yourself every day. And I got my puppy. She was a big part of my healing journey, but we'd walk around the block together after a really bad date, and I'd remind myself I'm okay. Like, we've got each other and we're going to be okay. I don't need a person. I don't need to cling. So I was very active in developing this relationship to self.
Tell us more about that relationship to self. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's actually like the part, who am I? What are my values? And because of my what matters, and therefore what do I want to do with my days on this planet? And therefore I better surround myself with people where it's aligned, particularly if it's intimate relationship. And then really owning, as a woman, I'm a sensitive person, and to not feel bad about that, because a lot of us do. We've been told we're too much and it's not okay, and so actually
don't take it personally. Remember that one. Don't take it so personally.
Exactly, but how can one not?
Well, I have feelings. Yes, I have feelings.
Exactly.
You said something interesting about how often someone will be in your clinic talking about something deeply painful deeply painful, whether it's a heartbreak or it's a trauma or it's something that is bringing up all of these big emotions. She's crying, she's expressing these emotions, she's reaching for the tears, and she will say, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry for having a family. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is the place, please. Often in our family system, there's a lot of expressed emotion, so we just can't be the one. Some of my clients, many clients, they say, I knew I couldn't make it worse. So they just know, like, they're going to be the easygoing one.
Don't be dramatic. Don't be so
Yeah.
dramatic.
Yes, or people have it worse in wherever. And yes. So a woman is just not allowed, and women are meant to care about other people's feelings, actually, not themselves.
It's so wild, and it's such a huge part of the human experience, right? Feelings. That's the whole. That's what it is to be human. And yet we are so, I guess, ashamed. We want to hide so many of our vulnerable emotions. I was even talking to a client today who doesn't like to share her big, excited, proud emotions too much because we get told to put a lid on it, rein it in, stop bragging. It's
dial that down, or like one couldn't sing or dance as a kid. That is heartbreaking.
Yeah. There's so much at play for everyone. I think women and men. So, how many the patterns that you see in your clients and yourself? Was it hard for you to see that you were your own ideal client? Sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, I find that with me, sometimes I'm like, my ideal client is me a couple of versions ago. But the clients who were working with was you kind of at the time.
Exactly. It is true. You don't realize it back then, but when you heal your stuff, you become a better therapist, actually. Just clearer on what's healthy, what's not healthy, what's acceptable treatment from someone. So I mean, I was effective. I was a good therapist. I'm better now, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Probably, like, I've become more honest and direct and clear. So maybe when females are bringing stuff, like holding space for the other, because that's what we're taught to do, and that's our self-sacrifice. I'm a lot stronger now, probably, on that's just not okay. Whatever's going on, that's not okay. You don't deserve that. If you want to work on it with this person, you can't work on your own. Has to be reciprocal. But yeah, just the ability to see patterns, actually. Like one session, do your family of origin, assess your beliefs. I'm like, oh, this is where you've gone wrong. I can see a way out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the patterning. You really do get good at being able to join the dots. I call it. Join the dots. You can really see, I know it's not exactly the same. You're not playing out exactly the same thing, but it's similar enough underneath. But there's wounding. It's this fear. It's this, it's the patterns.
Totally.
It is juicy work. What does it feel like in your body when you are with the right person versus settling? Like, how do you know? How do you know? And this is at the beginning and even long term, how do you know?
Always say, like, if you have some wounds of your own, you will feel anxious. And so I did feel anxious when I met my partner, but it was always settled. And it settled because I was doing the work of talking myself through and taking care of little Phoebe. And I was clear on what were healthy expectations of a new person. But then I would bring it to him and he would listen and go, yeah, cool. Like, what do we do about that? Like, oh, who's this? Who's this unusual species of a human who I've never met before, who's just so mature? And yeah, let's talk things through. So you have to be brave, but like, don't forget your partner wants your happiness, actually. Your happiness is good for them, and it goes both ways. So, and his communication was very different. He was not afraid to, ask curious questions, to say what he wanted, but very much his own person. Um, and so I'd catch myself thinking, like, oh, like, I'd really love to hear from him a bit more. But I'm like, no, this is good. He has a life. um, so it's pretty calm, and I still felt, little sparks, but they weren't like out of my body. I could come back to the moment. I wasn't so preoccupied about our connection all of the time because it was just steady. Actually, I had very little time to worry about it. There'd just be this kind of steady flow. And then, I talk about in the book the one time he didn't reach out to me first thing in the morning because he's very consistent, and how I freaked out and got very angry, and should I reach out or shouldn't I? But,
What was the story you told yourself? What did you tell yourself in your head when you didn't reach out that day?
I was like, I don't matter. I'm not that important. Like, and then, like, oh, you're not that busy. Like, surely you can check your phone and, and all these things. And looking back and I was working on my stuff. I was like, that's ridiculous, Phoebe. Like, this is a person with their own life who's really healthy, who just happened to be busy. Like, you can be the growing up here and reach out. And so I just told myself, like, he'll get back to me when he's ready, and he'll actually be really happy to hear from me. And he was, and on you go.
The attachment style stuff is so deeply rooted. I have been anxious. I'm going to guess if you have an anxious attachment style. I've had anxious attachment style and relationships that have just like reinforced. And I am in a committed long-term relationship now with someone who's super steady and has never given me any reason. Like he's securely attached. He's a unicorn, a securely attached human. I know, seriously. And he's just super steady, has never given me any reason. And I thought that then my attachment style had become secure. I was like, no, I don't worry about it.
It's beautiful, right? Where we have to face that we can lose, actually.
Well, it's inevitable. This is the game we play. When we allow ourselves the beauty of love and human connection, the best case scenario always ends in heartbreak anyway. Someone's going to die first. That's the best case scenario. So either you don't make it long term, or you do make it long term and one of you dies first. You don't get out of love without some kind of pain. So you might as well just dive in.
Yes.
But healthy.
Yes.
Good healthy.
I think so. And that you learn, I think what's the best that we get out of life? We're not exempt from pain, but we get growth and learning. I think that's really beautiful. Yeah.
Can you hear your attachment style?
I think so. And also it changes and shifts with different people. Again, I would say I still like my fear, the fear of death. Mine is more, and I think this is family of origin stuff. Like we'll just break up. Actually, like even in fights, I'm a lot better at going, this is just conflict in this moment, and this is not a disaster for us. This is okay. Like, we are in this together, and he just needs space, and that's okay. And I want less space, and I can soothe myself. I think we can. I think it's still kind of, we kind of go back to what we first came along with in these difficult moments.
Shut up, Phoebe. I won't hear it. Just this morning,
you can do
I had an altercation with my husband, and I was like, oh, I suppose that's it then. Like in my head, I'm like, oh, well, that's, that's, and it's like the desire to leg it, to leave, to, it's so strong.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I mean, same this week. And I think it's that, yes, and I've always been the first to leave, and I think it's that self-protective thing. I'm like,
100%.
oh, like, thank God I'm with this kind human who is just like so stable and steady and committed and willing to put in effort and communicate. That is such a beautiful thing for someone like me to experience. Doesn't mean it's easy. I think I've had to change. I've really changed my idea of what a relationship is. A healthy relationship is not exempt from sadness or frustration. Um, it's going to happen, but you just grow in your capacity to tolerate difficult things, and don't forget kindness, and don't forget that you're both hurting.
Yeah. And repair, right? I think it really is so much about communication when you're feeling a little bit vulnerable and being able to say, I get scared. I'm scared. I can feel whatever is happening between us right now and it's making me feel scared.
Exactly.
And when I feel scared, I feel like I want to withdraw. How do we come back together? Even if we don't solve anything right now, how do we just come back on the same page?
Exactly.
Any
That's
tips?
a good reminder. Well, it's like, that's good advice, Jenny. I think I just got angry this week instead of vulnerable. Well, work in progress is, it's beautiful. Yeah, I must say I'm good at repairing. I'm really good at owning my part. I think that's a bit of a value of mine. And I can also, there's the internal work of, I know who you are. Like, I know who my partner is. They're different to me. I get their way of managing right now is space, and I'll try and respect that. Not always good at it.
The-
And that not everything needs to be resolved.
Yeah, not everything needs to be resolved.
Not right
Yeah.
now. Or maybe we'll just be okay. Like, pick the conversations.
Sure.
Yeah.
There are, I believe, like something like you might know the stats, like something like 70% of things that you argue about are
Yes.
never going to be resolved because they actually
Exactly.
come from deep programming and history, and you're both coming at it from something that is so completely different that, you know, when you have these sticking points in your relationship,
Yes.
the things that you fight about all
Yes.
the time, how do you come at that? What do you suggest about that? The things that you fight about all the time in your relationship?
What I would say to people, you're right. I think that's the stats, John Gottman's stuff, unsolvable problems. Like, most of the stuff we fight about, we can't fix. As I often say to couples I work with, we might not come to a solution, but I can help you talk better about it. And from that place, you might get more compassion and more understanding of why it matters to your partner. So I can help you be regulated and kind, and if you can do that, then the difference doesn't become so much of a threat, actually, whatever it is. It can be, to have a child or not, or where you're going to live, or, the perpetual one person's more organized, and, how you like to live. And
were you looking at me when you said that?
doing money. No, completely us. It's from my own lived experience.
Yeah.
That's right. And so sometimes you outsource some of those things, don't you? Like, you get,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to keep fighting about that. Like, so we'll get a cleaner in. Like, just does stuff have to be a problem? If you're fortunate enough, then get help, actually. But become a good listener and be curious. Yeah.
How do you get better at communicating in partnership? I think that, or I know 100% that the key to really successful relationships, platonic, in work, any relationship whatsoever, the key to successful relationships is communication. We're often programmed to be right.
Correct. Yes.
So then we will
Yes.
speak louder, speak over, defend in order
Exactly.
yeah.
On and on it goes. Exactly.
So what is the key then to putting down that armor? So if we're fighting in
Yes.
order to be right and we're reacting rather than responding, what is the key, do you think, to getting from where we are now to being the communicator that we want to be if you're finding yourself stuck in those sort of patterns?
Mm-hmm. So the first, this is emotionally focused couples therapy, like just stop fighting. Like we're a team, let's agree together. If we become de-escalated, someone says stop, stop, let's slow down. And also I think sometimes it's so hard. I go with the really simple stuff like eye to eye, touch, hand on, and starting really slowly. There's just something I need to talk about. It's a little bit hard. And so you just, like you're dipping your toe in, you just don't start at 10 out of 10. But it's practice. I had a client the other week, they asked me, well, what if we start? I said, you get it wrong, you start again. And then you start again. I said, but for now, you just need to learn how to calm and come back down so you can be open to hearing, and then try and say it in a kind way. I really love this is also Terry Real, his feedback wheel. There's like 4 parts, but what I heard or what I saw and the story I made up about it, I think that's really good because I'm not criticizing you. I'm not attacking. I'm being
Owning your
vulnerable.
own feelings. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's practice. It's practice.
And a real desire, I think, a real desire
Yes.
to want to make it work and to be kinder to your partner.
And I think kindness and compassion, like again, so I don't get in my own wounds and my own pain and how wronged I've been this morning or whenever, put a little post-it note on my desk, like all the stuff, the stress that my partner's carrying at the moment or his family of origin stuff. So compassion, if you don't have compassion, it's very hard to be kind in the moment. It's very hard to regulate. Yeah, that's saved me, I think. It's just like, what's going on for him? Talk about in the book your partner's inner child as well. Like, I don't want to contribute to more wounding, actually.
It's such a deeper way. It's such a deeper way of thinking about each interaction. It's not just, these sparks that flew up in the kitchen in the morning and you walk away. It's actually layer upon layer of conditioning and wounding and whatever that is creating how people behave.
Exactly.
And then it's a desire. I tell you what, though, sometimes you just like, fucking hell, can't I just have a fight and be right? Like, why do I have to analyze?
Only sometimes, Danielle.
Then I'm right and walk away.
Correct. Yes. Come crawling back to me. Yes. It's just fantasy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talk about self-love a lot in the book, and really that is the cornerstone of everything, and it is the biggest, most strongest, most important relationship in your entire life. How do you get from a place of wounding and fear about your self-worth and your value and your lovability? How do you get from there to having that rock solid foundation, or at least solid enough that you know when you're bullying yourself and you can call yourself out?
Exactly. So often, we're so defended that it's there lurking, in the things that we do. And so start linking the behaviors, like the over giving and the over kindness and the overextending yourself. Actually, that's about being kind, but there's a way bigger picture there. And yeah, I want to make self-love really tangible in the book, that it's not just, say nice things about yourself. In order to get there, you have to connect with the hurt of your past, I think, in the conditioning of it's not anyone's fault, but this is what happened to me, and these are the messages I got about myself, and they're driving the stuff. They're driving the patterns, the things that I keep on doing, and, my self-esteem is getting worn down more and more. And so I think of self-love is like, if you had to grow up that little girl or that little person again, what would she need to know? What would she need to hear? What would she need to experience? And so she needs someone to be deeply curious about how she felt. She needs someone to see her strengths and accept her flaws and her moments when she's sensitive. And so for me, that made it really tangible. And so, yeah, a lot of the time when, I'm not being kind to myself, I can stop and go, like, where does this come from? But how is this helping you? And then self-compassion just becomes part of what you do, hopefully. I'm lucky working with people. It's like a muscle I'm cultivating every single day. But we're the worst at it with ourselves. I just think you have to be really intentional and deliberate, and that a big act of self-love is just accepting yourself, actually.
No.
Which is like in my work, and you and I, we've talked about late diagnosis of ADHD. It's just kind of going, oh, I'm not going to fight the reality of who I am anymore. Like, I have big emotions and I'm expressed and feeling. And so I'm actually going to harness that for my work, and I need to be in a relationship where that is welcome. And so then you choose, the people who are good for you that allow those things. Yeah.
As you said then, in choosing to accept yourself, choosing that self-acceptance, I felt this sort of sense of relief in my body. Like I felt that in my body, because we spend so much time in that space of rejecting parts of ourselves because we feel like that we need to be more like something or less like something.
Exactly.
Which just creates this vacuum, this space of I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, this is not, I need to keep working on myself. And I'm a huge advocate for doing the work, and I'm a huge advocate for growth. But also, I'm okay. I'm okay just as I am.
Yeah, I'm a human. Like, we're all going to have our stuff, but yeah, not doing the work forever. I believe that. Because, yeah, you don't need to heal certain parts of you. You just need to let them be and be sensitive and emotional and honest and direct and blunt, and, and I do that at work. I'm not the fit for everyone, and that's okay. And I can work with you and meet you where you're at, but I won't turn off parts that are true Phoebe.
Perfect. I think that that's an enormous lesson for anyone in any industry. Show up authentically as yourself in all the different environments, so that you can be more honoring of who you are at your essence. And the more you honor who you are at your essence, then surely your self-love will grow.
Exactly. Yes.
So talk to me about the book. What are you most excited about with the book? What will people get out of your book?
I'm really excited that I wrote a book that is heartfelt and connecting, and, women have told me they feel really seen and understood. So I think if that gives them that experience, that's beautiful. But what I really wanted was for them to have steps in a guide, really clear tools about there's a process like what are my relationship patterns? What are the wounding, the events that happened to me? And what does that mean for the present? How do I undo that? How do I express myself? How do I decide if a relationship's healthy? They will read the book and they will get that, and they will understand themselves. They will understand how a healthy relationship looks and feels, but whether they're in relationship or not, they will be okay. That is the core of this book, like self-compassion and connection to self that will guide you through everything in life.
Beautiful.
Mm.
As you say, whether you're in a relationship or currently single or never even wanting a relationship again, understanding these sort of core experiences in your life that then shape how you live in the world is invaluable work for anyone.
Yes. We all work, we all have jobs, we work with difficult people, we have difficult siblings. So, yeah, there's a romantic theme to the book, but you're right, this will apply in any circumstance. Yeah.
What do you say to, like, there's so much messaging in society around, like, finding the one. Sometimes that is very difficult for people for the reasons that we've talked about, and sometimes they're just not finding anyone suitable for, various reasons.
Yes.
What do you say to someone who is either giving up and is like just happy on their own, so therefore going against this idea that there is one, or someone who is still looking but hasn't found it, feels like it's a never-ending thing? Like, what are your thoughts on the one and where you're at if it's not happening for you?
I don't think there's the one. That's not what my life and clinical experience tells me. I think we put in effort and we're intentional and we choose someone who's kind, and sometimes we're not lucky. I do think there's an element of luck. I think I got really lucky. I found a good person, but I put in the effort to find a person. And something that really helped me when I was dating, there was no guarantee I was going to meet anyone, but because it mattered deeply to me, I would give it a go.
Right.
I wanted to be able to look back and go, I gave this a really good try for myself because it mattered to me. If it doesn't matter to you, that's okay. But I hope everyone gets to live a life that feels meaningful and rich. Yeah.
Beautiful. Amazing. I'll also link to your book. I will link to your website. And I wish you just the best of luck with everything. And I think I had to invite you on again. Would you like to talk about some more stuff another time?
We could talk forever.
I really feel like we could.
I would love that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and chatting about big stuff.
Thanks.
That was a good chat. Good stuff. What struck me most about Phoebe's story is how she really had to come to her own rescue. Here's someone who spent years helping couples to fall back in love, yet she was planning a wedding whilst visualizing herself running away at the altar. The voice that said, "At least someone loves you," I mean, that really hit home for me, and hearing how it kept her trapped until that little quiet voice grew louder, that one that really refused to settle. Phoebe's journey from relationship expert to runaway bride and then finding genuine love shows us that healing, it's not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole enough to only accept love that adds to your life rather than asks you to diminish it. She also learned how to parent that scared little girl within herself so that she could validate her own emotions and show up authentically, even when it felt terrifying. Here's a couple of things for you to think about. Firstly, what voice are you listening to in your relationships? Is there one that is sort of saying, at least someone loves you, or at least you're not alone? And is that keeping you settling out of fear? Or is there a quieter voice that knows your worth and is refusing to accept less than you deserve? Phoebe's panic attacks about her wedding were her body screaming what her mind wasn't ready to hear. Your body often knows before your brain has an opportunity to catch up. Second, how are you showing up for little you? I really loved that conversation about the inner child. Phoebe talked about parenting little Phoebe and loving little Phoebe, that little part of her that needed to know that she mattered and needed to know that she was considered and that her feelings were important. Sometimes our romantic partners are never going to be able to give our little person what that little person needs. So learning to reparent yourself, healing your own wounds first, rather than expecting others to always do the work for you. Remember that the love that you're seeking, the relationships outside of yourself, are always going to start with the relationship that you have with yourself. So do that work first and everything else will follow. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time for more Big Stuff.
I hope that you enjoyed listening to this episode of Big Stuff as much as I enjoyed recording it for you. Now, if you did enjoy this episode, it would really help me if you wanted to share it with just one person that you think is going to get something out of it. And also feel free to drop a comment. All of these things really help podcasts to gain more ears, and that's what we're really here for. Also, be sure to subscribe, then you will never miss an episode. If you want to find out more about me, who I am, what I do, then you can go and check me out at daniellecolley.com.au. I'll see you next episode for more Big Stuff.